My name is Jethro Seghers. I'm an Office 365 MVP. I work for BitTitan. We make migration software and cloud enablement software into Office 365. Moved 18 months ago from Belgium to Seattle to pursue my American dream, let's say. And it's been fun. It's been a lot of fun.
How is it in Seattle? It's a quite nice place to live, right?
Rainy and windy. No, honestly, it's been really good. It's a nice area to live in. It's we call it the nice Pacific Northwest. A lot of green. This summer, really nice weather. It rains a lot, but so did it do in Belgium. So I'm not complaining.
Yeah, you told me you are involved in some interesting projects in Office 365, and one of your projects was to move from a company from the Google platform to the Office 365 platform. Can you give us some more insights and details about that?
Oh yeah, absolutely. So one of the companies that actually use our products to move from Google Apps to Office 365 was a very large company. It was a global entity, about 40,000 users, and they were really entered on Google. They had Google Mail, Calendars, Contacts, Google Drive, even Google Vault, and they had an agreement with Microsoft that they would migrate into Office 365. What was really interesting is the fact that at that point, it was such a large project. So we did the migration, we helped them, we did help them with the services and stuff. So with our tool, we migrated over 40,000 mailboxes, first of all, migrated their archives, migrated their drives into OneDrive for Business. And now everything, what they do is using Office 365. So in a matter of a few months, because it takes some time to migrate 40,000 users, we did actually their whole migration. We made sure that the Google Docs were migrated into Office format. We made sure that the sharing permissions were there. We made sure that when you do a mail migration, their labels were translated into folders. And it was an awesome experience. It was an experience for me personally because it's a very large project. For our tool, because it was definitely proved that we were ready to deal with the enterprise space. And also for the customer who was completely done with the Google side of things and wanted to start using Office 365. And after a few months now being on Office 365, they're so happy with the features that they have. They're starting to use groups now, e-discovery, everything has been entered on Office 365, and they made a huge improvement in their IT structure.
Yeah, that's a question because we often hear Google Apps and Google is a big competitor to Office 365, but when you dig a little bit deeper, you didn't get so much insight. So what was the main reason for your customers to migrate from Google Docs? Because if they're using it for 40,000 users, it's not a small step, it's a big step to change my whole infrastructure for my office work.
Oh yeah, absolutely. One of the main reasons is that Office 365 in the last 5 years has proven to be a really enterprise platform. Google Apps has more issues with that. They're having some troubles with their SLAs. The features are not so enterprise proof. Additionally, Microsoft is also providing a lot of incentives for companies like that to really go to Office 365. So they're doing a lot of marketing, they're doing a lot of support to get them onto Office 365, but the main reason was the majority of features that Office 365 would provide once they would go or be on Office 365. Just having their data on there was the first step. They've been using more and more features. They've been using Azure now. They've been using Azure Active Directory Premium, the whole integration with Office 365. They're thinking about using the Express route now. So all these things were potentially not there if they started or worked on Google Apps. So with Microsoft releasing and providing all these new features, enterprise-related features, it almost became a no-brainer to get their data onto Office 365. The only thing that they wanted, it was to make sure that the legacy information that they had in mailboxes and drives in their Google Vault had the same place in Office 365. And that's where we stepped in and made sure that that data got migrated with the full legacy transparency.
After the migration and experience from how the Office 365 platform is running there, how satisfied are the users there? Do you have any special challenges? Do you did additional trainings, or what were the main challenges for doing the migrations from a user perspective?
There were two main challenges. So first of all, you had an IT staff that was completely trained to use Google Apps. So they had to be retrained to do the management, to do the integration platform. So for example, they had a provisioning system that was completely created for Google Apps. So they had to recreate it for Office 365. So that whole integration was a little bit of an issue. So they had to make sure that was covered. But also you had customers who were used to using with Google Drive and were so fluent in collaborating with Google Drive, and suddenly they had to go to OneDrive, a completely different system. People often say, well, Google Drive is user-based, OneDrive is user-based, it's not a huge difference. I can tell you, if you look much deeper, you're going to see there's a lot of differences between the two. So there's a lot of user adaptation that need to be done, a lot of user training. And the thing that that customer did very, very well was communication. Making sure the trainings were there, making sure that customers knew what to expect the moment they got onto their OneDrive and on the SharePoint Online. And we saw that that tackled a lot of issues. Is customers or the end users knew what to expect once they were on the new platform, and that made a big difference for them.
Do they have still stuff on premise, and so you have to implement a hybrid solution?
No. I think that's the advantage of dealing with a customer who was already on Google Apps. Their belief in the cloud system was there, their trust in the cloud system was there. The only thing they did was change from a cloud system to another cloud system. So they still have a few things on-prem, like the local AD and some databases, but not something that really requires a hybrid. So they were already completely bought into the cloud system, so that was an advantage for us. We didn't have to really sell the cloud on them, so they knew that they wanted a cloud solution. The only thing was how to get my data there.
You're a little bit specialized in Exchange and email. So email is said to be dead for years, but it's still living on, and it's still the most used tool, and I think a lot of people are still living in their Outlook. Yes. Anything new from the mail front? Can you say what do your customers do with email? Still the same stuff as always, or are they starting to maybe sending emails but storing their files not in an attachment but on the website, like here with tools like Harmony or whatever? What are your experience?
People still use email, and people will use email for a long, long time. I think what a lot of customers are starting to realize is that they need to be able to share their information, their documents in a very easy way. So they also realize that putting them as an attachment is not a good way. So all the SharePoint people who have been pushing, hey, don't put them as an attachment, put them on your OneDrive, put them on your SharePoint, and share a link to it, definitely pays off. There's still a lot of people who need a little bit of user training, and tools like Harmony definitely helps with that. But a lot of people had made that mental click. Also, with the introduction of groups and Yammer, there's a lot of more options that people can do, and you're starting to see a shift. And the shift is mainly that they're going to use the right tool for the right purpose. If they want to do a social collaboration, they might use Yammer. A lot of people are starting to use groups, and groups give, for example, that very easy option to do mails, to do files, and have that combined in one single platform. So a lot of people want to have something that looks like email because they're very familiar with it, but still have that ease of collaboration with it. So having documents as attachments, it's a no-go anymore. People are starting to realize that. With the release of groups and the more features that groups is going to offer, a lot of people are starting to evolve to that. Yammer is something special. A lot of people like it, a lot of people hate it. It's a kind of love and hate relationship that a lot of people have with that. But once you have a purpose for that, you see that people kind of starting to embrace it. And I see that's something that is starting to evolve, is finding the right tool for the right purpose, what you're trying to achieve.
Yeah, you have choice between so many different tools. Whatever fits best for you, you can use it.
Yes.
I think you're at BitTitan also a very heavy Office 365 user, and you're using it for a long time. How has Office 365 evolved your personal work style? How you work, how you communicate?
Actually, Office 365 changed my life. And it sounds really dramatic what I'm saying right now, but when Office 365 was released, I was an IT manager in university. And I still remember my first introduction with Office 365, and at that point, it became free for education. And on the university, we were struggling with email and always have to upgrade our hardware. And I was like, this is perfect. We have to investigate that. And I started investigating. I started seeing really the potential. And at that point, it was still based on the 2010 products. It was Exchange 2010, SharePoint 2010, not a massive amount of features that we have right now. And I started implementing it with universities, talked to Microsoft about this is going to change the education style a lot. Worked with them as a Microsoft Education Technical Advisor, really started working on that. And eventually I started doing my own company. I founded my own company, helped people getting onto Office 365, seeing the evolution going from wave 14 to wave 15 to what it is today, and eventually ending up with BitTitan as a program manager. So without Office 365, I would not be doing what I'm doing right now. The same thing goes is that I can, with Office 365, communicate with my team in Singapore, with my team in Seattle. My parents, for example, still live in Belgium. I use Skype for Business to communicate with them. So it's not just from a professional point of view, it's also from a personal point of view that I use it to be connected. I think Office 365 made the world a very small place. It's very easy to collaborate with people who are thousands of miles away and still have the feeling that they're close by. So if people embrace that, that's what they can achieve with it.
I think that's the key point, that the software and the tools are usable and get a real benefit for the customers, and so the users are can easily use the functions and can do their work and work with Office 365.
Yeah, totally. I think that Office 365, and I think Microsoft even acknowledged it, that what they're doing now with Office 365 is beyond their wildest dreams. When they released the first version, and I remember it so vividly, it's all those 2010 products, but even then you could see that there was potential in it, and right now what Microsoft is doing, and they're building it into a multi-billion-dollar market right now, it's beyond what they thought was possible. And I think we have to compliment the people behind it with the vision that they have for it, and what they're trying to achieve it's amazing.
Jethro, it was a great pleasure to talk to you. Thank you very much for taking the time, and have a nice day here at the European SharePoint Conference 2015.
Well, thank you for having me.